Get this, back in the olden days, if a person had a mental illness, doctors thought they were being possessed by a demon.
I wish it were that simple, Caroline, I really do.
No more schizophrenia or depression or bipolar disorder. Begone, demon of the mind.
Isn't that just therapy?
Absolutely not!
The history of mental illness dates back to the beginning of human record, although it's probably beyond, because most mental illnesses went undocumented or unrecorded. Went undocumented until the Greek era, where many philosophers such as Galen and Hippocrates had some ideas, as philosophers did.
Back when Hippocrates walked the earth, and way before then too, people thought that mental illness was a devil possessing you. They used to treat those illnesses with exorcisms, lots of praying, bloodletting, or trepanation, literally drilling holes into your head. But Hippocrates wasn't so sure. He thought that mental illness and religion had no correlation, meaning that depression was not, in fact, a Greek devil inhabiting your brain, and he believed that people were not at fault for their mental illness and should not be ashamed of having a mental illness.
Considering the fact that no one in ancient Greece knew anything about modern medicine or mental illness, this idea was actually pretty progressive. Of course, Hippocrates did have his faults. He believed that physical disorders or illnesses could cause mental illness, which we now know not to be true. But he also came up with the idea that doctors could taste your bodily fluids to tell if you're mentally ill or not. Now that's sickening.
Galen was another Greek philosopher who added on to Hippocrates' ideas. He believed that mental illness could also be caused by psychological stress. No one believed him at the time, even though he was right, because the ancient Greeks weren't that progressive.
Fast forward a few centuries into the Middle Ages, and mental illness is becoming a matter of the supernatural demons once again. Some mentally ill people could pass under the radar and live their life normally, while others were hunted down in witch hunts and hung for their illness. Life was not so good.
Institutionalization, or the placing of mentally ill into mental institutions and asylums, began around the 15th century. People placed in institutions were treated like animals. Depending on the institution that they were in, they could be chained to walls, kept against their will, and given no access to any kind of hygiene.
Dorothea Dix was an American woman who realized that asylums were treating their patients like prisoners in the mid-19th century. She rallied men and women around her cause to reform institutionalized mental health care and create state hospitals. During her life, she helped institute around 30 state hospitals that people with mental health issues could use.
From Dorothea Dix's social work on, life and conditions of asylums only improved for these patients. As psychological cause theories, or theories that discuss the cause of psychological disorders or illnesses, began to take root in Europe, the first diagnostical and statistical manual of mental disorders was published.
However, there still were a lot of drawbacks to living in an asylum. There was still little choice as to whether to live in asylums or at home, and things like restraints, electroconvulsive shock therapies, and lobotomies were still practiced in some asylums up until the 1970s.
Since then, admittance into asylums is not just for everyone with a mental health issue. It's primarily reserved for those who are a threat to themselves or to others.
And there are so many resources today for specialized mental illness care. It's truly astonishing how far modern medicine has been able to come, not only in terms of caring for people's physical health, but also their mental health.
3 cheers for modern medicine.
Yay!
But not for the asylum conditions of the 15th century. We don't cheer for them. It's officially Mental Health Awareness Month, which is why our next few videos will be talking about mental health.
For those who want to find out more information about mental health, there are so many great campaigns out there like I Don't Mind, NAMI, and Man Therapy to help destigmatize the topic.
We've left links in the description to those cool mental health organizations, but there's so many more out there. Check them out if you've got time. And leave us a comment about your thoughts on this timeline or the Mental Health Awareness Month if you so please.
Until next Monday, faithful viewers.
Just remember, don't try to exorcise a mental illness. For the last time, it's not actually a demon.